Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's another terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today as we have a full calendar of events scheduled for you. What we can pack in 2 hours and 12 minutes and 34 seconds. You'll be surprised. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. And in the studio from the Department of Children and Family Services with Shireen Barnes as we continue, our partnership with DCFS during the month of May for Child Month. So, Ms. Shireen, good to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. Today is our fourth and last of our informational sessions for Child Month. Today we have with us our community dietitian, Ms. Tamara Riley from the Health Services Authority. She's going to be talking about nutrition and health and wellness as it pertains to our children as a part of our overall theme of Child Month, which is building wellness with our children. So, of course, nutrition is a pillar of one of our health. So, welcome, Ms. Tamara.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome back, Ms. Tamara.
Thank you.
Many of our travels in the past were to the BRAC, so we know that the HSA always ensures that the entire country is covered. So, good to have you again, and I look forward to our discussion.
Yes.
As we get into wellness, and as Shireen was sharing, I was just curious, though, when it comes to, say, nutrition, and we look at, say, the young and are very active aged and the like, and those of us who are somewhere along that spectrum, is their approach to nutrition or diet or exercise or lifestyle the same, or is it distinct based on your age and stage in life?
Well, to be honest, the approach is somewhat the same, but in how you provide the therapeutics is different as it relates to age, your sex, your overall nutritional or health status. So we look on those things in our approach to therapy. But as it relates to how you should manage yourself, the approach can definitely, be the same.
Okay. So we talk about wellness, building wellness.
Right.
And we hear a lot about that. What is wellness?
So wellness, what wellness is encompasses a few different components. So we're looking at the overall holistic human being. So when you look at wellness, yes, nutrition or the physical component of wellness is a part of it, but then you have social, occupational, intellectual, different components of wellness, and these are the things that encompasses the overall holistic health itself. So when we're looking at achieving wellness, we're not trying to achieve just one part of wellness. We're trying to achieve our overall holistic health.
Ms. Shireen, you and I probably, I speak for me, Susan says, boy, look, you're not far from food. We enjoy eating. Some of us enjoy preparing the food, even sourcing it, whether from a garden or the convenience of the supermarket these days or the farmer's market. And we come in, and I wonder to what extent we pay attention to that as we should, in the absence of professionals like Ms. Tamara. We probably just eat, consume, and repeat.
Well, for all of us, I think we're basically going to be eating what we grew up eating, what our families gave us. And food is a special place in our lives, in our culture. Whenever we're going to a function, we know food is going to be there. We're more motivated to attend. And we just have a relationship with food. It's just for us now to have a good relationship with food and a relationship with healthy food.
Right.
That's going to be good for our bodies and our general wellness.
Right. So tomorrow, with that in mind, that idea, that relationship, as Shireen shared, some of us eat to live, some of us live to eat. And you talked about optimal nutrition. Well, is there such a thing, and there are certain impediments and barriers that may impinge on our ability to achieve optimal nutrition?
Well, I mean, since we're focusing on the children, we have to understand that yes, we can achieve optimal nutrition, but can we achieve optimal nutrition for our children if we are not trying to achieve optimal nutrition for ourselves? And I think that is where the problem comes in. Let us go back to looking at wellness just for a second. For us to be well, we have to, for instance, be financially well. We have to be emotionally well and a little bit stable. Now, if we live in an environment where, say, for instance, we get home late. Getting home late means picking up the children from school late, which means dinner is going to be prepared late or dinner is going to be purchased on the street. So to achieve optimal wellness, there are certain things, or optimal nutrition, there are certain things that has to be in place for that to be fully achieved, and we have to look at all of those things. So a lot of times when you have families come to me with a child to say, okay, that this child was referred to you because they need help with their nutrition, I usually turn to the family. Because really and truly, this child needs their family in order to function. So you want to find out, what is happening with the timing for food, what is happening with your timing getting home, what is happening with you when you get home, so that you're not able to pay enough attention to what the child is having to eat. So we have to look at all of those things in order to find out whether or not we can get the opportunity to achieve optimal nutrition, but it can be achieved.
And with that, as you reference, it's us as the family, however that unit is defined, in the absence of the child having to source, prepare, and consume the food independently. It's probably us, the adult, and left for that child. So the timing of the meal, for some of us, maybe the shift work. That is where we are. So lunch today may not be between 11 and 2. It may be between 5 and 8 p.m. So dinner is now between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. for argument's sake. Those sort of things could impact the child's health.
Exactly. So what we have to focus on right now as a society, as a country, is how we can integrate both the government institutions, also the private sector institutions, in achieving all of this. So if you have, for instance, when we talk about having what we call want for a better word, when you say shift work, we want to have some sort of
plan.
Not plan. When we want to be able to be flexible. We want to be able to be flexible, especially if you have families who, for instance, the father is doing shift work, the mother is doing shift work. Then you need to find out from that family, okay, we know both of you work with this organization, both of you are on shifts. We are going to put you on this shift so that you're better able to deal with certain things in the family. And then we rotate these shifts. And I think that is the problem as it relates to structure, because apparently there is no dialogue as it relates to how do we do this, because these people have children to deal with. So that children can be able to eat earlier, so that foods can be prepped earlier, because what can you do if it is that you work from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you can do about that. But the people who employ you perhaps can look into maybe asking other persons who may not have this barrier to somehow,
Yes. But to add to that, I think that maybe not a large percentage of people would be working those odd hours. Majority of us, I think, would be working in fairly regular hours.
But you'd be surprised.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But in any event, whatever your schedule is, you should always meal plan. Always plan for your meals. If you don't plan for it, of course, things can happen along the way. But try to have a general overall plan. Even if you're going to plan to buy food, just try to have a general overall plan of what is going to be for the meals, for the day, for the week.
That is something that I've always discussed with parents as well, to try to pre-prep if you can, and also to make an overall weekly plan for what you think you might be able to prepare and what may take less time to prepare for you, so you do not have to eat out all the time. So that is something that we always try to encourage, to pre-prep and also some sort of meal planning as well.
Well, when we come back from the break, let's talk about it. And for those who are listening, as we continue our information session, as part of our partnership with DCFS and Child Month, we get a chance to appreciate the impact that food has on us, our mental or physical, and the way we approach things. And in partnership with the HSC, we get a chance to speak to the community dietitian. So join us after the break. If you have a question or a comment, well, give us a shout. I think the free phone line has been paid for, 1-800-534-8255. So with the kind compliments of Flo, a toll-free call, of course, 949-6990 is also there. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
After more than 20 years, the Cayman Islands Air Show is back. Start your Queen's Platinum Jubilee weekend on Friday, June 3rd by watching a thrilling air display on Public Beach, 7 Mile. Witness amazing acrobatic maneuvers as world-class pilots put on a stunning show. Then see the planes and meet the aviators at the Cayman Airways hangar. Parking permitted at designated sites with free shuttle buses to the events. For all the details and event lineup, visit CaymanAirShow.com. The Cayman Islands Air Show returns June 3rd.
The Spring Labor Force Survey is currently being conducted by the Economics and Statistics Office. The Labor Force Survey collects data on employed and unemployed persons. Trained interviewers with ESO ID cards will visit randomly selected households in all districts. The interviewers will exercise appropriate COVID-19 protocols using personal protective equipment. The interviews are confidential in accordance with the statistics law. No individual data will be published or disclosed. Survey data are exempt from freedom of information. For more details, please call the ESO on 516-3329.
In honor of Family Month, the Church of God Chapel, Boddentown would like to invite you to special family and friend services with Dr. Dennis Wilson on Sunday, May 29th at 10:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. Come experience an uplifting worship and share in these life-changing messages. The Church of God Chapel, Boddentown special Family Month services Sunday, May 29th at 10:30 a.m. and 7 p.m.
I'm so glad I'm a part of the family of God.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Ms. Shireen Barnes over at the DCFS and Tamara Worms-Riley from HSC, the community dietitian. And as we talk about, wellness and the importance of nutrition and health as part of the child month activities, I was interested to ask. We talk about food prep. We're talking about planning. We're talking about trying to make sure that we make a concerted effort for the whole household. The child, the parent, the extended family are healthy. A question though: how important is it for us as a household, especially for our children, to have not just regular meals, but regular meals at scheduled times, so that your lunch is this time, your breakfast is this time, your dinner is this time. Because some of us, we eat, if we eat, when we eat, what we eat. For the child and for that optimal health, how important it is?
I think it's extremely important. It's of utmost importance. The reason is your body functions a particular way. And it's just as the clock ticks, we know what the time is that's how your body works. So it's scheduled to do certain things. So for instance, glucose is released when food is consumed, the glucose is taken up. If you are not eating on time, glucose is released into your blood to regulate the blood sugar. So all of those things happen within certain time frame. And that's the reason you need to eat within a certain period of time. They give you at least 4 to 5 hours or 5 to 6 hours to have certain meals, and it is very important we put the children on those schedules. And that's the reason they have break time at school, they have lunch time at school, and then you have dinner or supper time when you go home. So the important part of this whole thing is to make sure that what they're consuming is doing the job that we want it to do. And one of the most important thing that I wanted to mention is that if the child takes the initiative and wants to be healthier, I think one of the downfall is that the family isn't really as supportive as we would want them to be. So the onus is not on the child to do this, the onus is on the family to take it on as a family structure. So say, for instance, your child says, Mommy, I went to school and the nurse says that I am a little bit overweight and they want me to go see the nutritionist. I think as the family, what they should do is say, okay, you know what, perhaps maybe we all can take this on. That large tub of ice cream that we used to buy, we won't buy it for the entire family anymore. The cheese snacks and the sweet snacks that we used to buy, we won't buy it for the household anymore. I don't think it's fair, and I've always said this to parents, that I do not think it is fair to purchase a large tub of ice cream and then point at the kids and say, you can't have it.
Yeah. You have to lead by example, right?
You have to lead by example.
Yeah. So with that, then, our children, whether and if it's okay, Ms. Shireen, I want to extend it to even our high school and college children, even though they may be young adults. In fact, that lifestyle that they've adopted probably in the house of murder. So the child is in school. The child has exams and other activities before and after school. Some of them, because they're studying or the activity, food may be available, may be prepared, but they're saying, I'll get to it later. So it's 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and they haven't had anything substantive to eat. How do we, first off, is that an issue relative to their overall health? And if it is, how do we address it so that they get that regular scheduled time, so that a meal for dinner is tomorrow?
And that is a very good question. I think we've put this society has put so much focus on academic success to the point that we miss the fact that without good nutrition, you will not have that academic success. And we have to enforce and we have to encourage our children, let them understand that you need brain foods, you need to eat on time for your brain to be able to even consume the information that you're trying to get in there. So when we put the focus on eating healthier, being more active, then we will realize the goals that we're trying to get to, which is academic success. And I think that's where the classroom is also falling short. And this is something that I think I'm going to get beat up over to as well. I think we need to stop using food in the classrooms as well as a reward for being successful in your grades or in your exams, in fundraising events. The things that they're asking for is always food.
And we reward some event with a celebration that is food. Okay. All right. I can see where you would get some pushback from some of us, but it's not just cultural. So let me then ask then, in that perspective, we're going through our day, and we are established, as you shared, let's have our meals, breakfast between this time, lunch between this time, dinner between this time, and hopefully healthy snacks in between. But what about the lifestyle that we may have adopted for whatever reason? It's the schedule of the parent or even the child. Do we need to have those, what do they say, the 3 squares a day? Or could we say, well, you know what, we have breakfast now, which, and maybe I should clarify, in my mind, that first meal that you eat because of your lifestyle, your schedule, whether it's 7 a.m. or whether it's 12 p.m., that's still breaking the fast, right? So if that first meal you have is 12 p.m., which would be for some of us lunch, and for others it may be a breakfast-like meal, and then if the second meal is 7 p.m. or 6 p.m., is it okay then if your lifestyle that you only have those 2 meals and not the 3 or 4 meals that some would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner? You've only had 2 meals?
Well, for adults, it may be something that you could do, but I think for children, we have to be a little bit more cautious and conscious of what we need for the children, because children, even though they're smaller adults or smaller human beings, they still need a little bit more brain energy than adults may need as it relates to glucose release in our bloodstream. So I wouldn't recommend that for children, because that sounds to me more like intermittent fasting, and we're not really recommending that for children. Adults, somehow they may be able to get away with that to some extent, but I don't think we would want that for the children.
And I appreciate that too, because even though we're not talking about this, but it's difficult for me to hear you saying that and not consider to what extent we may be creating some sort of eating disorder within ourselves, so that even if you have, as an adult, breakfast at X time of day, that first meal, and then another meal at maybe later on in the day, whether you had snacks in between, you're not eating consistently and your body isn't functioning, it is not getting the energy. That could create something for our children later on in their lives that could be replicated in their own children.
And that is exactly what
Well, another point is that because children are on the go, they use more energy, I think, than adults. And food is really fuel.
Exactly.
And they need to have their regular meals, regular healthy meals, so that they can fuel their bodies and fuel their brains. What I'd add to that would be meal times, like spending time having a meal together is super important for children. It's a time that they can bond with their family. It's a time that they share their day. So if it's even one meal, it would be good if parents could strive to have at least dinner together. Even if it doesn't happen every day, but sometimes during the week and perhaps on the weekends when people have more time, just have a one sit-down meal with their children, or even have them help them prepare the meal or prepare one part of the meal, and they all sit to eat together.
We have a question relative to snacking, and I think I'm thinking to the child. We pack the lunch kit, they go and we try to pack healthy snacks, and there's the first meal, and then there's the break recess at school, and there's lunch, and then there's the afternoon, then there's the dinner meal. How important is that snack is in relation to the overall optimal health? And then let's say the dinner is a certain time, and then there's a bedtime. Is there some sort of thing that should be consumed between that final meal and bed?
If you're talking about having a bedtime snack, sometimes it is not necessary. If you had a solid dinner at, say, 5 or 5:30, even 6 p.m., you really do not need a bedtime snack. And one of the other things, too, as it relates to the morning snack, if a child had a really hearty breakfast, most times the snack between that is not really necessary.
Okay.
And I think sometimes it can lead to overfeeding as well. And then it becomes a habit where the child feels as if, funnily, I mean, this it may be a joke, but I remember at one point my little girl was, whenever the clock, if there's no school, whenever the clock goes to a certain time, she would tell me that this is the time for her to eat now.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to start to explain to her that it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that once it gets to this time. She said, but that's what happens at school.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to explain to her that, eating means that you feel a sense of hunger, and that's why you really eat. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have to eat at this time.
Right. And I'm glad you shared that, because it's the conditioning. We think the Pavlov's sort of experiment, right? And for some of us, that is the concern that we may have. This thing has occurred. Now, there are, as you referenced, there are some of us, because of our lifestyle, we want our breakfast by 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. By 11 to 12 o'clock, we know that we're ready to eat. The clock doesn't have to tell us, our body tells us.
Right.
But that's probably because of our training, the habit, the practice that we've adopted over our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So then your point with the school, there's the bell, there's recess. We all open up our lunch kits and we run out to play, and we take our snacks. It could be impacted over the summer where there's no physical bell being rang.
But also the fact that snacking is merely for pleasure.
Is it?
Well, I think so, because people will be snacking after they eat their meals.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, people will be snacking after they eat their meals and want something a little sweet, a little savory. So it's mainly for pleasure. I don't know.
Really a pleasure
and
thing.
Notice snack food. Yeah, it's not like
snack is a smaller meal, a smaller version of a larger meal. So it's not really often, considered, something you necessarily have to do.
Right.
It's not really. It's really like, if it's to hold you over until your next large meal. So if there is a sense of feeling what we call peckish, then you may have a smaller snack, so that it can hold you for a particular time until your next meal. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a snack.
Tell that to Eskid. But I'm glad we referenced that in jest, so that people appreciate that it's not, you don't have to do that. And maybe when you do, maybe you consider, for whatever reason, some people I have known in recent times said, their breakfast is this is what they like, but for whatever reason, they don't want all that at one sitting, so they may break it into, 2 parts, 7 and 11.
And I think one other thing too with even I think we should move away from calling this a snack time, especially at school. It should probably just call recess or break. You take a break from class, and I think the focus should be on more recreational activities, fun, playing, games, things like that. And I think I'm not putting everything on the classroom, because, as I said, it's a community effort. But I do believe that in terms of even the classroom, some of the activities that are done in the classroom can be geared towards activities, physical activity in the class. Math can be standing up, 3-person walk back that way, 4-person walk that way, times that by whatever, how much do you get? Things like that, to make it more of a physical activity session. Science can be done outside as well. So things like that, if they take it as an opportunity for more physical activity outside of PE time, I think we could get at least another extra 30 or 40 minutes of activity in each
in the school day.
Yes.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask about that. I read one message sent through, and I read an activity in children, activities they play, and we can maybe incorporate that into the fuel that they need, but also the importance of that. I'll take this final little break in our session, and then when we come back, we'll continue. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Throughout May, CUC and its subcontractors will be erecting new utility poles between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Shamrock Road between Watershed Circle and Wallbridge Drive in Lower Valley. Motorists should exercise caution due to temporary lane blockages. For more information, contact 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Workforce Opportunities and Residency Cayman are reminding customers that applications must be completed in full or they will not be accepted. In efforts to improve customer service and processing time, only fully completed applications will be accepted. Customers are responsible for providing the required information for the application to be processed and are encouraged to review the application checklist before submission. For guidance, visit www.worc.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks for the opportunity to partner with DCFS and their childhood activities, and in association with the Health Services Authority as we focus on health and nutrition. But Ms. Shireen Barnes, DCFS's activities for the month of May, you have a fairly full calendar, even though we've got this week and a few more days of the month left. So a way to share, and then I also want to ask Mr. Mar more. I'm excited to hear about our children and the activities and their need to be physically engaged. But give us a perspective of some of the things you have coming up. Today's Thursday or Friday?
Today's Thursday.
You sure?
Nick.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
How about Miss Tamara conclude her sess
All right.
and then I'll go into.
All right. You're taking on the show, so go ahead.
Thank you for that.
Miss Tamara. No, I'm glad that Miss Shireen referenced it because it is true, And we talk about feeding our children so that they're healthy, but it's the body and the mind. And the spirit and the soul and everything else. So we're going to need to be physically active, healthy mind, healthy body.
Exactly. And I think one of the most important things I've always talked about is having an environment that is conducive to not just physical but, mental wellness as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is one of the things that, I don't see society putting a lot of focus on. For instance, in our communities, children like color. Color means a lot to children, and that is why the unhealthy snacks are so pretty. They're so colorful. So if you have a park that has really colorful benches, colorful walkways, colorful rideways, paintball activities that are free, go-kart activities, you find that children will be more interactive. And I think one of the problems is that the affordability of some of the things that children would want to be involved with is not affordable to the families. And so you find that more children are, I wouldn't call it depressed, but you find that they feel emotionally left behind because they cannot get to some of these activities. Horseback riding, for instance, as well. So some of these activities, if they were made free to people who schedule time to do these things, I think more than likely would have more children who are happier, more playful, and would want to participate in more activities around the island. Even for instance, the paintball activities. Children love these things. So if you had some facility that does these things, I know we have skating, skating and rollerblading and things like that. So we need some bicycle rideways, wider walkways for the children in the parks to play and run and different activities. Bigger trees, things like
and
that.
for us as adults and authorities to be more, not just respectful, but cognizant that children with energy riding their bicycles. Okay, we are drivers on the road. A child maybe, or a young person riding a bike needs to be careful and cautious too. But we're in the car. We need to be careful.
Very careful.
But then even in our communities, to what extent are we making that accessible to them as you shared? So that activity is important.
Very important.
You never thought. I know, as you said, I'm mindful to remind our listeners what Ms. Mida from the Department of Sports shared with us the last time. A lot of these things can be, if we're a little bit more how do you say, creative in our own homes.
Yeah.
You know, create little things around our yards, but that's in that space. Many of us want color. And what they say, you know, varieties of spices.
Social wellness as well.
There you go. See that, Miss Shireen? I guess that's why they
Yes, what Miss Mita shared the last time was that we could create a circuit in our house.
Mm-hmm.
So in one station you do like jumping or kicking, on the other station you do something else, and you have 4 or 5 of these stations just around your yard, and that you could do with your children as a part of keeping them active, keeping them physical, and also you and them bonding over that activity as well. So that's a good one. So in terms of, you know, having the resources to go out and to spend on things, you can actually stay at home and do things for free that the children will enjoy, and also will build a relationship with the parent because they're both doing it together.
Well, that is true, and I'm not taking away from you know, building a circle and bonding with the children. But when it comes to socializing, children are the life of the party. They love to socialize, social activities. So when we can have our own home space where we do these things, I mean, COVID has locked us inside for a little bit. You know, so we know what the homes look like.
So we're ready to go out.
Children want to be out there, you know, in parks and those things, meeting other friends and getting active with friends. Sometimes when I ask children, personally speaking from a dietitian's perspective, when a child comes to my office with a parent, sometimes if I'm left alone with the child, or if the child is talking, one of the biggest issues is that they don't always get to play with their friends, except that they see their friends at lunchtime at school, then they're always in class afterwards. So that outside playtime that they would get is usually the physical activity time, PE time. But when we're talking about parks, that's where they would meet up with their friends and run and play and ride, and those kind of things are what makes children happy, healthy, motivated, and emotionally well.
Okay.
And that's important, you know. And I was looking at a message from one of our listeners as they were sharing, and they were talking about the importance of activity and wanted to support what Mr. Mahar was sharing. That not only are some of the activities costly, but they're not accessible. You know, and how do we address that? We see some communities where the parks are there, and as you're in the parks, you're doing a lot more activity. But even in the parks that we have now, there may be restrictions. They may be used in a certain way at certain times that preclude some of us. So this is a concerted effort, I think, as part of us. In looking at that, we talked about it. I mean, there's the schools, there's the homes, there's the wider communities. There's more that we can and should be doing if we're looking at wellness. You know, building, what's the theme? Building wellness in our children?
Yes. With our children.
We're doing it together with them.
Yeah, well, you know, it's the food. I'm thinking if we eat some high sugary thing, we may have a burst of energy for, you know, a small period of time. Then what happens after that?
Crash,
and you end up on a sugar low. And you want to sleep, and you're tired, and you're exhausted, and you feel depressed, and you have this guilt. The whole works.
And maybe cravings. You want something to eat, or you want something sweet.
Yeah, I do right now.
One other thing too, I mean, I usually tell parents as well when it comes to preparing healthy foods, buy simple things. So, for instance, instead of buying like this whole chunk of breads, buy little wraps. You know, buy the little ones. You can make simple meals. Like, nothing is wrong. We want people to stay away from ultra processed foods. So nothing is wrong with buying deli, like a little turkey deli meat. You make like a small soft taco shell, you know, quick dinner. You can do the same thing with fish. You can do the same thing with, you know, chicken breast strips. You can make a quick meal from little things, and then you can get the children involved. So one child can be cutting the tomatoes, or one child can be cutting the onions, and you are doing the prep with the meat and so on. So it's about doing very simple meals at home in the evenings, nothing that will take up a lot of time. Breakfast time can be very simple as well. You can always do like a bulk, for instance, a bulk scrambled egg. If you want to put all the veggies in there, lots of bell peppers, lots of onions, lots of tomatoes, and those kind of things to make it bright and pretty. Color is everything when it comes to children. And that's important when you're making breakfast. It's important when you're making dinner as well.
Right. Well, is that a call for us, Miss Susan? All right, well, Miss Shireen, I know that Saturday?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I really had a lot to say. This is our last opportunity on the radio to really share the upcoming events and also to say thank you for people who have helped us along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So first I'd like to say congratulations to the 2 Child Month awardee in Cayman Brac from the Lehman Scott High School. We have Miss Kara Bodden. She was selected. And from Grand Cayman, we have Rain Hardin from the John Gray High School. They are the Child Month awardee recipient for 2022. So congratulations to them.
Congratulations.
Mr. Rain Hardin, his award will be presented on Saturday at the Wellness Fair by our minister, Mr. Andre Banks. So we're looking forward to that. So on Saturday, we have the Wellness Fair. It is the biggest event we have had, and it is going to be at the Arc Cayman Bay, 12 to 4 p.m., and it's just shaping up to be a fantastic event. First of all, it's free. It's free for the community, and it's free for everyone can attend. Children come out, and parents come out with their children. It's going to be fun, whimsical, but also educational. We have 8 booths. We have the Alex Banton Foundation, we have the National Gallery, the Wellness Center, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the YMCA, Department of Sports, Health Services Authority with Ms. Tamara, and the Family Resource Center. They all will be having a booth at the fair. So all of their booths are supposed to be interactive, engaging, and interesting, and of course educational. So we're looking forward to that. And some of the booth holders promise that they're going to have prizes and surprises. So people who visit the booths will perhaps engage in games, and then somebody will win a prize, or probably more than one person will win a prize. So we're excited about that as well. We don't know the details about that, so that is even more exciting what we find on Saturday. So for our agenda, we're going to have a magician and illusionist, Mr. Erickson Hertz. He's going to kick off the show. And then we're going to have, wait, is that my time?
Yes, well.
I'm so sorry. I could go on and on and on. Please come out to the Wellness Fair on Saturday.
So the Arc, come on, on Saturday.
Right.
What time again?
12 to 4 p.m.
See, that much fun is going to be here, Miss Tamara. And you're going to speak to Miss Tamara and the HSA team over there as well, right?
Yes.
Well, this has been wonderful. Every year in May, we look forward to the partnership, as we do in October for the month of the elderly. And this is where, as Tamara reminded us, the community can and should be more actively engaged and involved in our lives of our children in particular. So, thanks very much, Ms. Tamara.
Thank you for having us.
All right, when we return from the break, in partnership with HSA, we get to speak to Miss Faith Geely. We're going to talk about, speech therapy and what a phenomenal lady she is, what a phenomenal organization she represents. So join us after the break.
Satisfaction's guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman. We've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Lions Club in the Cayman Islands will be hosting the 42nd Multiple District 60 Convention, May 26th to 29th of this year. It's the first in-person Multiple District 60 Convention since 2019. Activities begin today, May 26th, with a welcome reception at the residence of His Excellency, the Governor, Martin Roper. In international news, the head of the World Bank has warned that Russia's invasion of Ukraine could cause a global recession as the price of food, energy, and fertilizer jump. David Malpass told a U.S. business event on Wednesday that it is difficult to see how we would avoid a recession. He also said that a series of coronavirus lockdowns in China is adding to concerns about a slowdown. His comments are the latest warning over the rising risk that the world's economy may be set to contract. Actor Kevin Spacey has been charged with sexual assault against 3 men, the Crown Prosecution Service has confirmed. 5 charges were brought against the 62-year-old after the Met Police reviewed evidence following complaints dating between 2005 and 2013. 3 complaints relate to sexual abuse, which is alleged to have taken place in London, and 1 in Gloucestershire. He is also charged with an additional serious sexual offence in London. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Sollins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
After more than 20 years, the Cayman Islands Air Show is back. Start your Queen's Platinum Jubilee weekend on Friday, June 3rd by watching a thrilling air display on Public Beach, 7 Mile. Witness amazing acrobatic maneuvers as world-class pilots put on a stunning show. Then see the planes and meet the aviators at the Cayman Airways hangar. Parking permitted at designated sites with free shuttle buses to the events. For all the details and event lineup, visit CaymanAirShow.com. The Cayman Islands Air Show returns June 3rd.
Are you a Caymanian status holder, or a resident of the Cayman Islands who is interested in enhancing transparency, accountability, ethical standards, and promoting awareness in public bodies? If you are civic-minded with the highest level of integrity, the Commission's Secretariat, on behalf of His Excellency the Governor, welcomes your expression of interest for appointment to various statutory commissions. For more information on the commissions and candidate qualifications, visit the Commission's Secretariat website at www.commissionsecretariat.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks too for this opportunity to speak to the speech and language pathologist over the Health Services Authority, Ms. Faith Geely, and we're leveraging our technology, so she's joining us remotely. Ms. Faith, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on and accommodating me in this way.
No, thank you for letting us reach out to you, and we know that you and your colleagues are extremely busy, but if we can speak to you in this format, hey, taxpayer money at work, helping us to inform and instruct our listeners. So thanks very much. Always a pleasure because you have so much to share.
Oh, thank you. We always enjoy our chats, our annual chats.
Yeah, it's that time of year again, right? Well, maybe we should tell our listeners as we get into speech therapy and ask them what it is, but our annual chat, as you said, Speech and Language Month, Speech and Language Day. International. Tell us specifically so I get it right for Ms. Susan.
Yes. So it's Better Speech and Hearing Month, or Better Hearing and Speech Month, and that is celebrated the whole month of May.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's primarily celebrated in North America, but internationally, I think it is gaining traction as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's important too, because I think we don't appreciate sometimes that I always would joke with people and say, when they say I'm talk too fast, I say, no, you listen too slowly. But if we can communicate and hear and listen, it's important. And there are certain things that may improve or may serve as impediments. So what is speech therapy?
So speech therapy is a very comprehensive field that I think a lot of people just initially think of it as people who work with lisps or articulation differences, but actually speech therapy is a field that helps with your communication, both your speech in terms of how you articulate it as well as your language, and it also is a field that works very closely with swallowing disorders as well. And so it really has a huge impact across the lifespan of the people that we serve, because speech therapy is a field that can benefit anyone from birth through end of life and everything in between.
And I'm glad that you would reference that to us, because I think sometimes we don't appreciate how significant it is. And as you talk about those speech therapy benefits, across the lifestyle being beneficial to all people. Let's start with the very, very young. So a child is out, thank God all this looks well, has all the fingers and toes and is making the sounds. At what age would we be concerned with speech therapy, or the need to assess whether that infant, is it at day one or at second zero as a child comes out?
Well, it really depends on what challenges the child may be facing. So my colleagues and I we've treated children as young as just a few hours old who are struggling with feeding. So typically that is the primary concern when it's an infant. If it's a child who is born prematurely or has some type of genetic condition or some type of anomaly that is going to have some impact on their development, then speech therapy, the role of the speech therapist would transition into more like preventative care and early intervention. So sort of like wanting to make sure that we're supporting the family through the development. It might just be through regular check-ins and regular consults, just to make sure that the child is developing typically. So we kind of want to prevent the disorder from happening before it does, because we see there's some red flags or some concerns that could indicate that as a child grows and develops, they might be at a risk for speech and language delay.
And I appreciate you sharing that. I'm thinking back immediately to our previous discussions where you shared with us, the notion of swallowing, and maybe we can talk more about that. But not to belabor it, but for someone listening, what do you mean an infant, only a few hours old, having issues? It just shows you the importance of looking at the child from all perspectives, and even that in infancy, swallowing and the like could be an issue for that very young person as well.
Absolutely. And I think swallowing and feeding is one of those areas that I think people don't think about when they think of speech therapy. So it's one of those things that's very off-putting for people. Like when I say, oh yeah, I have a dysphagia patient and we're working on helping them get their swallowing back on track, or I'm working with someone who has a feeding disorder, and people are like, what does that have to do with speech? But actually it's a huge component of our field.
Yeah, and I'm glad for the years that you've come on and you help us to understand it. Even the word dysphagia for some of us might be new, and we'll probably quickly put it into a search engine and figure out from the dictionary what it means.
Exactly, which is just a formal word for a swallowing disorder.
There you go. I wouldn't have known that had you probably not told me that some time back, right? So this is where we listen and we learn. So good, as part of the Better Hearing and Speech Month. What about the childhood though, as we go through? So the child is up and running now, is walking, probably in school in the early days. For that child, they're developing their language skills, they looking at their speech patterns, speech therapy interventions at that level as well.
Yes, so this is where I think the more traditional views of speech therapy come into play. So you're noticing that the child maybe has a lisp or is struggling to say certain sounds. Or you're noticing that, hey, my 3-year-old isn't really like putting words together the way that we would expect a typical 3-year-old. They're not talking, you know, they're 2 and they're not putting 2 words together. They're 1, but they're not saying anything. So this is where you're seeing the delays of speech and language. And speech, typically, we refer to our actual like articulation, so how you're pronouncing your sounds and your words, and the clarity of how you communicate. And then language, obviously, is referring to how you understand language as well as how you express language. So a lot of those red flag characteristics that you're looking for in childhood is the child doesn't seem to be understanding things. You're giving them instructions and they don't really seem to be understanding what is being said to them. You're noticing that maybe they're struggling with picking up on certain concepts or struggling with communicating their thoughts, their wants, their needs. So maybe they're using behaviors and things like tantrums and crying and pointing and gestures to communicate instead of speaking. Or they may just not be speaking clearly. So maybe there's a stutter, or maybe they're having an issue with some sounds or some families of sounds. And so that is typically what we'll see in childhood. And there are some children in childhood who do have some residual feeding difficulties. And so there is a role to play on that regard as well, particularly children who might have some severe allergies or gastro issues or have sensory feeding issues. Those children would also benefit from the feeding interventions from a speech and language therapist.
All right, so with respect to the HSA, over the Health Services Authority, what sort of speech therapist services are being offered?
So we offer a comprehensive wraparound service. And what I'm most proud about is that we are culturally responsive and culturally competent. So we are very aware that we serve a multicultural population. And so we are well versed in what is typical for Caymanians and Caymanian culture and our dialect and our needs, as well as we've taken the time to educate ourselves to be culturally responsive to some of the other predominant cultures in our community. And so we offer culturally responsive, comprehensive speech, language, and swallowing interventions across the entire lifespan from birth through end of life. And we do offer services in multiple settings. So we do offer acute inpatient, so this is someone who may have just had a stroke or have been admitted due to concerns with pneumonia or some other health crisis, and the doctor flags up that, hey, this person is having issues eating, drinking, swallowing, and so the speech therapist would come in and would do an assessment and see what we can do to help get them back on track to eat. We also offer outpatient services, so this is what most of our service looks like, where we're in the clinic and people come to our office and get one-on-one interventions in the clinic. And we do also offer some groups throughout the year for both children and adults, and we're hoping to expand the group offerings as we expand our staffing later this year. We do also offer home health, so we know that there's a large subsection of our population that are bedbound and they're not really able to, it's very difficult for them to get out of the house. And we also know that there are people who are medically fragile, so particularly with, you know, the spikes in COVID in our community right now, we know some of those families might be a little bit wary about taking that family member out of the home. And so we do offer home health, where we come to your home and work with you, particularly for our elderly and medically fragile people in our community. And we also offer telehealth services. This is something that we started in 2020 in response to the COVID pandemic, but it's a service delivery model that we found works so well for so many families, especially for families with multiple kids and having to juggle, like, bringing one child to an appointment and you know, you have your other children. And so for those families, if there's someone home who can assist and facilitate the session, we do offer teletherapy as an option for families that's a more appropriate option for. And we're super flexible with our families. So I've had, you know, patients who said, hey, our car is broken down, we can't come to our appointment today. And I'll say, hey, do you want a link? And so instead of missing their appointment, we just shifted from an outpatient to a teletherapy appointment. And so it really just helps to make sure that people get that continuity of care from the comfort of their home or office.
This is that responsiveness, but then when we talk about speech therapy, what makes it different at HSA?
I would say our clinicians. I think we genuinely care. We genuinely care about. I mean, in Cayman, I think we're very lucky in that we have a large number of allied health professionals who, come from many different countries and cultures and bring with them a whole myriad of experiences. But for us, I think at HSA, our service has developed specifically to meet the needs of the Cayman Islands community. And, our focus is on meeting the needs of the community. We're not financially motivated, we're patient motivated. So that is our biggest driving factor to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the Cayman Islands community.
Yeah, I think that's something that is good. As you said, I was thinking back to that mindset that we may have had with the health profession way back when we talked about good bedside manners. The healthcare provider was patient-centric in today's words. So the motivation for you is the patient, not the financial reward.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody has to make a salary, right? So no judgment. We have, Cayman is a very expensive place to live. But I think that is just something that it just makes it different for us is that, when we make a clinical recommendation, it's based on evidence-based practice and it's based on the cultural responsiveness and cultural competence. And so we also really look at patients in a holistic way. So we don't just only look at the diagnosis. We also look at what is the family dynamic, what's the home dynamic, if it's an adult, what's your work dynamic like? How is this impacting your quality of life? And do we need to get other professionals involved? So a lot of times when we work with clients and work with patients, a lot of times I'll say, well, what is your ENT think? They'll say, ENT? No one has said that. I'm like, well, I'm 100% sure you have reflux. I think you should go see your ENT, or go see your gastroenterologist. And it's like flagging up the need for like other types of multidisciplinary interventions. And I think that's something that really stands out because a lot of times patients have underlying diagnoses that they've been getting treatment for years and they were only addressing symptoms and not the underlying problem. And so I think at HSA we really do our best to look at every patient holistically, saying, listen, like we have to make sure we've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's because you don't present with these symptoms just randomly, right? And so let's make sure that we're treating you as a whole person, not just addressing the symptoms.
No, with that in mind, and if you wouldn't mind, because sometimes I go back, as I asked this, to what Mr. Jeff used to talk about when we had the program. We just didn't find our guests on the parking lot. I want you, if you would, tell us a little bit more about your current team members, their specialist certifications, and including about yourself, if you would, so that people appreciate that we have this resource.
Absolutely. So right now we have a team of 3 speech and language therapists, and we're hoping by the end of the year to have a team of 6. So that's really, really exciting that we're growing and really meeting the needs of the community, and we're really excited about the prospect of growing our team. So our newest team member is Miss Emily Runnell, who is joined us from Chicago, and she is a certified bilingual pediatric speech therapist. So she provides interventions for our bilingual families. So again, really looking at the importance of having that diversity on our team and recognizing that there are people in our community who speak more than one language, and English might not necessarily be their first language. And so we're really excited about the growth in that way. She's also certified in oral myofunctional therapy, which is a special type of oral motor intervention. So a lot of dentists, for example, really like to send people for this type of treatment because a lot of times when our teeth are malformed, our jaw is malformed, a lot of times it's due to inappropriate placement of our articulators. So inappropriate placement of our tongue, which has shifts the teeth and shifts the jaw, or because of things like tonsils and adenoids. It causes you to mouth breathe, which then leads to malformations of the mouth and the jaw, which can contribute to you having speech issues and your speech not being clear. And so a lot of dentists, when families go to seek getting braces, a lot of times they will also recommend that you do oral myofunctional treatment so that you're dealing with the underlying cause for the malformation of the teeth and the jaw. So that is a specialized service that is really helpful for not just people with orthodontic issues, but also for a lot of ENT type issues, so chronic ear infections, and people with cleft palate, any type of jaw or teeth malformations, etc. So we're really excited about having that skill set on our team. And she's also primarily an early interventionist as well. So she works a lot with our younger children, our families with sort of that 1 year to 4 or 5 years old. So she's a pediatric therapist, but early intervention is definitely her love language and her love area. And so she's just been a lovely addition to our team. We also have Miss Raven Ramon, who is a homegrown Caymanian speech therapist just like myself. So we're really happy about being able to grow our team with other Caymanians and developing Caymanian talent in the speech therapy arena. We're hoping to have another Caymanian graduate join our team later this year. So I'm so excited about seeing that growth with our young Caymanians. And Raven is a dynamic pediatric therapist. She is our pediatric feeding specialist. So a lot of those babies and young children, school-age children who are struggling with eating, who maybe have tubes for feeding and need to try to transition onto an oral diet, Raven is the therapist who would work with those families. She also works as some of our early interventionists and pediatric therapists. So she does a lot of our younger language delay children. So Raven has been an amazing team member, and she has grown so much as a clinician. She also is trained in the natural language acquisition approach, which we're really excited about. I think we're the only team on island that has that approach, and that's a specific language approach for children with autism and children who are what we call Gestalt language processors or Gestalt language learners. And that is basically children who learn language through echolalia. So instead of learning language like learning, a cat is a cat, and then you add on to that to say it's a big cat and a big black cat, so instead of growing language from a small unit to bigger units, those children learn language in huge chunks of units at a time. So it sounds like they're having huge conversations, but in their mind, it's really just one unit. And so that this specific approach helps with children, particularly children on the autism spectrum, who learn language in that way, and help to break down those units so that they can learn to mitigate those gestalts and learn to use language functionally in terms of being able to communicate their wants and needs. So we're really excited about being able to offer that approach, particularly when we look at the number of children on islands who have autism and who present with this type of language acquisition. So, so we're really excited about that. So those are our two primary pediatric team members. And then we have myself, and I am a generalist, which is a unicorn in the speech therapy world nowadays, which means I basically can do anything and everything. But right now my caseload is primarily older children, so like high school children and adults. And so I am an adult dysphagia specialist. I do have several certifications, including VitalStim and McNeil Dysphagia Therapy Protocol. And I think I'm one of the few people in the region that has that certification. I'm also a certified dementia practitioner. I have advanced trainings in voice therapy, so people who might be having chronic hoarseness, losing their voice a lot, or singers, teachers, people who talk a lot, radio presenters like yourself, who use their voice a lot, and maybe are starting to see evidence of that vocal strain. Though that would be where I could come in and support with that. And also I'm trained in several approaches for aphasia, which is the loss of language after a stroke or a brain injury. I have trainings in working with people with Parkinson's, with ALS, dysarthria, which is a speech disorder, a motor speech disorder. That's a result of a neurological insult, so something like a brain injury or a stroke. So I do a little bit of everything. And I guess I'm the old lady on the team because I've been a speech therapist now for 15 years, and I don't let a year pass me that I don't get a new certification or do some type of advanced training. So over the years, I've gotten a lot of trainings and certifications under my belt, and I hope to keep it that way.
Well, I pray that you were able to, because as you shared, it's so important for that, not just for those continued education, but as you want to continue to offer greater value to your clientele. And I'm glad, that you were sharing that with us, because I know how humble you and the team at HSA, particularly yourself, But for us who want to benefit from the speech therapy services of your team, what do we do? Do we need a referral?
Yes. So typically what we encourage you to do is discuss it with your primary care physician. So that could be your GP or your child's pediatrician. Or if you're happening to see your specialist doctors due to a concern, you're seeing your neurologist due to concerns with forgetfulness, or you're seeing your ENT due to concerns with your voice, speak to them about obtaining a referral for speech therapy services.
Okay. And I appreciate you sharing that, because sometimes we would think, as we would, we would just make an appointment to see your GP or the like. But with your services, we need a referral.
Yes, definitely need a referral.
Okay. And I'm hoping that as we've listened to you, that we as parents, but even ourselves, don't just dismiss or ignore those things, whether it's, something that we believe is simple. Certainly, we won't ignore it if it was a stroke or some other issue, even after some treatment for cancer or the like, but even our young people. So what would you say as we look at Better Hearing and Speech Month to our listeners? What are your final closing thoughts for us?
I mean, if you have any concerns, like I said, speech therapy, we work with a wide range of needs and a wide range of diagnoses. So when we're, I highlighted a bit about the children, when you would see somebody, but, for adults in our geriatric population as well, if you are especially if you're in like your early to mid stages of dementia, you definitely could benefit from speech therapy input, because we can give you some strategies and really help to delay the progression of the disease in terms of helping to keep you cognitively stimulated, and for adults who, like I mentioned before, having voice issues, even things like getting over cancer, post-cancer support and feeding. Maybe you've done a round of radiation or chemotherapy, and it's in the region of your throat or your mouth, and you're noticing things aren't working the way that they were before. Or if you're noticing anything neurological, if you've had a stroke, anything really from that we've talked about from childhood up, don't hesitate. I always tell people I'd rather assess you, or I'd rather have someone on the team assess you and say, hey, you're fine, than for you to ignore it, and then when we finally get a referral to see you, that it's too late for therapy to really make a huge impact on your life. So if anything is impacting your quality of life, if anything is impacting your ability to eat, to communicate, to remember things, to express yourself, if you're noticing, hey, I used to be able to speak really clearly, but now my speech sounds jumbled, or now I'm getting stuttering issues and I don't know where it's coming from, whatever the concerns, just speak with your doctor, get a referral, and come see one of our team members. We're here to help. We're happy to work with the Cayman Islands community. We're happy to work with you, work with your family. We provide a very family-centered, patient-centered approach. So it's not about, just doing X number of sessions. We're really looking at your quality of life and what do we need to do to support you to get back into your quality of life, So, if eating is a big thing in your life and you're not able to eat, then what can we do to help make that a reality for you? I know for me, when I sit and I work with my patients with neurological concerns or cognitive concerns, we sit and look at what are some of the things that you're doing in your everyday life that you're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're struggling with making phone calls. Oh, you're struggling with remembering your prescriptions. How can we support that? You're struggling with ordering your food in the restaurant. So let's practice. What's your favorite restaurant to go to? Let's get their menu. And so you can practice ordering those things so you don't have to worry about how you're sounding when you're ordering food in your favorite restaurant. Those seem like really little things, but those are huge things that impact our quality of life, And so it's all about your quality of life and improving that. And speech therapy is a field that really helps people to connect with those around them and helps them connect with the world around them. And so that's what we want to do, is just to help support everybody's quality of life and make it, through using our skills and our skill set, helping you to live your best life.
Well, thank you for, emphasizing that, and perhaps as we listened, we've appreciated as you share this about being patient-centric and about improving the quality of life and the multidisciplinary approach that HSC offers. Ms. Faith, always a pleasure, Mom. Thank you for your professionalism.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mom. Have a wonderful afternoon, and all the best to you. Hey, listen, so as Ms. Faith Keeley, the HSA, the speech and language pathologist, reminds us, if you need, just speak to your physician and get a referral to be able to avail yourself of the excellent services. I'm going to pause and take a short break, and when we come back, what we had scheduled has been slightly changed, but sometimes that is for the best, and we're going to have a wonderful opportunity to welcome a long friend who hasn't been in the studios for a while. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location, ValueMed on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
The DG's 5K takes off this Sunday, May 29th, 6:30 a.m. at the Government Administration Building. But if you're not quite the morning person, you can still support the DG's 5K within your community and help raise funds for the Cayman Islands Cancer Society, the Alzheimer's and Dementia Association of the Cayman Islands, and the MS Foundation. Purchase your DG's 5K 2022 shirt today and tomorrow, 26 and 27 of May, at the Government Administration Building, and walk or run anytime this weekend. Don't forget to share your photos on social media using hashtag DG's 5K Challenge.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community, a traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus.
We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
History has taught us that in crisis, humanity will always respond with innovation. What world-changing technologies will emerge from humanity's latest challenges? How can the Caribbean capitalize on the metaverse, blockchain, hybrid work, and more? Join us at the RF Economic Outlook Conference under the theme Future Forces, World-Changing Ideas, where we will explore the future of work, investments, technology, and more. The journey begins on June 8th. Reserve your seat today at www.rfeoc.com.
In honor of Family Month, the Church of God Chapel, Boddentown would like to invite you to special family and friend services with Dr. Dennis Wilson on Sunday, May 29th at 10:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. Come experience an uplifting worship and share in these life-changing messages. The Church of God Chapel, Boddentown special Family Month services Sunday, May 29th at 10:30 a.m. and 7 p.m.
I'm so glad I'm a part of the family of God.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And I want to say a special welcome to a good friend who has, made it to the studio for quite a while, too long. So, Mr. Mario D. Rankin, good afternoon, man. Welcome. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
No, good afternoon, and thank you for always having an open invitation for me to come on the show and share ideas and talk about things that typically most people don't want to talk about. But I think it's important that we continue open dialogue about various issues and various topics that we can have a better understanding about many things that we don't really have a intimate touch with, So that's why I like Radio Cayman. You guys have never ever, even though things have been limited, but never ever not extended invitation to me, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, thank you for acknowledging, and this is where I believe that if a community is going to be inclusive, if a society is going to be truly democratic, we need to extend a voice to all and sundry, and not just amplify the voices, but to ensure that as a people, there is a sense of urgency and incumbency that's recognized amongst us to speak and to act. I share that as we go through our discussion, because you've always been inspirational, insightful, and the like. And when Mr. Steve McPhail, for instance, speak of the tamarind tree being cut down, it was a gathering of place where people, most of men, can chat. If you look in the Cayman context, there are very few public spaces where we can assemble. But for the political sort of season, there are very few public gatherings of sort of opportunity to share. But it's always a one-way dialogue. If you look at other nations, there are spaces reserved for the public to assemble and to voice and to be heard. Now, is that necessary in Cayman? Well, maybe we do it a little bit differently. But if the voice isn't heard on a national radio, then how do we know what happens if we complain about that anonymous social media sphere? But maybe that's where people will go because that's the space that they have.
Well, one thing we have to take in consideration is that in most other places around the world where people can speak publicly and freely, they have laws that protect them for doing so. Unfortunately, here in the Cayman Islands, we've seen where more people have been victimized for doing so than we would like to admit. So therefore, you have a certain resistance or reluctancy from people wanting to participate in that arena. So it's very hard to galvanize any real support from people who are willing to carry the extra mile. Again, these are some of the things that we need to continue to speak about and in public so that we can we can make that turn in the road and encourage people to get more involved with their environment and the people and their surroundings and be willing to speak freely and openly and without any real fear of victimization. But again, it's one of those things that we need to work on.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that. You said to encourage. And yesterday I was asked after following a sort of series of discussions with some of our young people. And the word courage. Now, Mr. Mikkel said that we need to have courage, and he speaks of it in different ways. And it was presented to me that we often talk about our young people being, the future. Mm-hmm. But if they don't have a now, if they don't understand that what happens now impacts them, will impact their future, and the courage for them to stand, whether it's relative to their environmental considerations, but their future careers. So when you speak, you give more people courage. Some will probably live vicariously through you. Some will probably be a free rider and say, well, if Mario paves the way, they can enjoy the benefits. If he takes the licks, well, they can step aside and avoid the blows. But we need to have that courage and that recognition to champion democracy.
Agreed. And by all means, I don't have a problem charting that path. And I would just like to make a note that I agree 100% with Mr. Mikkel Hurlston when he said that a lot of people don't have the courage. He's 100% right. He's been saying that a very long time.
He has indeed.
And that's what I like about Mr. Mikkel. He's super consistent in what he's saying, what he believes in. And you don't have to always agree with him, but I can tell you in that regard, he and I see things exactly the same way. And I think that, Sterling, one of the most important things for me is to also be as consistent as Mr. Mikkel with the messaging and encouragement of people being able to speak freely and publicly. And if we're not going to be supportive of all, then we should just be quiet.
Don't let the thing be that thing that you like because of the person, or the thing you don't like because of the person. Can I ask you though? And I'm looking at the world now, and I don't know about anybody else, but just generally speaking, there seems to be little or no precedents to follow. Seems to be a lot of uncertainty, inconsistencies, conflict, confusion. Today this is being said, tomorrow it's something else. Sorry. Thanks, Mr. Susan. Thank you. I was singing in the song earlier, and I won't try that. Glad my brother's not listening. Like, you don't sing, boy. But in the Cayman context, right? Two phrases have often been touted more recently. Broken windows syndrome, and then the idea of big fish, small pond. Let's start with that one first. And the idea that we are unwilling to look at our own people, their talents, academics, athletics, the arts, and we don't celebrate them, we don't champion, we don't nurture, we don't give them opportunities. And yet other people in the places would, if they were there, they would do so much better. But if they come here, all right, Ms. Susan said we'll have to take a break. Can we mull that over? Is that time? Can we keep talking forever? And let's keep a short break. But let's talk about it when we come back. We'll invite our callers. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Subway makes it easy for you to stay on top of your health and wellness goals with our Fresh Fit menu options. Choose from 5 Fresh Fit Subway sandwiches with only 450 calories or less per 6-inch sub. Turkey breast, veggie, oven roasted chicken, Black Forest ham, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, or make your 6-inch Fresh Fit sub into a salad or wrap prepared with fresh vegetables. For a full menu and nutritional information, visit subway.ky. Subway. Eat fresh.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments from May 30th to June 2nd and June 7th to 11th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.portercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
Stay clean, stay safe, hey man. Reflections sells gallons of sanitizer for only $25. Buy 2 clip-on sanitizers for just $5. Reflections has the best KN95 masks or reusable cloth masks, and you can get 2 for only $5. Blue surgical masks and face shields are available for children and adults, as well as 10 and 50 packs of black surgical masks. Volume discounts available at Reflections. Jose's Rubus, Reflections Hemp and Tobacco, all 5 Liquor for Less locations, and Food for Less, open 24 hours every day. Don't miss the Liquor for Less incredible priced better markdown. Hundreds of fine from $2.99. Cases of ice cold below wholesale prices. Save $10 off liters of absolute exclusively at Liquor for Less. Prices so low we can't say them on the radio.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by
K-Man Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. K-Man Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us too. And in the studio, excellent company of Mario D. Rankin. The phone lines are open. And Mario, we have a caller. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Mr. Dwayne.
Hey, how you doing, man? How are you doing today?
All right, I'm feeling the heat, man.
Yeah, I can imagine, huh?
Yes, sir, man. Hello, Mario.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, big up, man. Yeah, listen, I hear what you're saying, but, we got to speak up. Because a lot of us tell each other, try don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us catch ourselves and say before we stand up, or I may lose my job. Or I may lose my electricity or something.
Mm-hmm.
And enough people, like when they try to go run against these people that can do that, you can hear them or watch them come walk up on you and say you might have problems trying to run against. So if that's not some kind of dictatorship or some kind of Nazism around this place, then I would love them to please tell me what it is exactly that I'm watching or I'm feeling around me, that I can't say nothing about corruption or bad ways around here, and especially when it's one of our own kind, like we definitely better not say nothing. So, like I say, if the barrel of apples stink, you got to throw out the whole barrel.
Yeah, one rotten egg is enough in the batter, right, to make the cake. Something you got to dump.
Yeah.
So what do we do then? I mean, Bob Marley talks about get up, stand up for your rights, right? What do we do?
And we got to recognize that everybody is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got this way of dividing us that saying, oh, you're different. Somehow your shoes on the wrong foot or something, you're very different. But especially they use this power again. I got to make sure I use this time, for the herb. That's especially used to divide us. Especially used to divide you and me. That's to say, oh, he smoked, he don't have the right senses. That's, he fool, he don't know who to vote for. But check it out, I've never voted for anybody that didn't have a ganja legal program on the agenda while they running. I never voted for anybody that didn't have that. And all of them that were running since I've been alive never had that. Never had that in their mind to think about doing that. Because as somebody said on this theme show before, if you legalize that, you take away the power of having a police or some deputy approach a crowd without fault or reason. That would be to hinder the protest of the Cayman people. You understand? So I'm sorry to bring it out in the heat, but sometimes some ice harder to melt. You know what I mean? Sorry. So take it easy, man. See?
Yeah. What time? But this is where the callers like him equally share with us publicly what some of us are even afraid to think privately.
Well, you see, him and saying what he said is a prime example of what we spoke about in terms of people having the ability to speak out and speak about what they want to speak about publicly without any fear of somebody victimizing them for doing so. The thing is, and to his point, is that we have created this system of reality. We have created this system of reality that has scaremongered people into corners and into silence. And now we have a situation where when the few people who do speak up, they are being viewed as troublemakers. I mean, how can I be ostracized and marginalized simply because I don't agree with your point of view? How can I have less opportunities than someone else because I don't agree with the system? How is it that we can have a reality in a society like Cayman where you have a category of people who can carry home $4 million a year in bonuses, not salary, but yet we got that same institutions that can carry home that amount of money developing charities to feed the local people? You telling me something not fundamentally wrong with that picture? Of course it is. So when someone from the public on the outside say, hey, why we got charities feeding our children? And then those people who created those charities say, well, why not? Well, maybe if we created a system that is just as lucrative and beneficial for the people who you have to have a charity to feed, if we created a system equally and that inclusive of all, we might not need these charities. But nobody don't want to have the real conversation. Nobody don't want to talk about that because they are gated communities and they are not gated communities. And that's that is very, I mean, if you really want to have a conversation about it, that's a serious problem.
And I think as I listen to what I'm reflecting on, is that for those of us that either used to travel or had friends who traveled and shared, or who ourselves may investigate other jurisdictions, you watch how the behaviors that are in other jurisdictions that came up over time, that have longer histories, if we were to close our eyes and believe that those same negative things couldn't happen here or aren't happening here, we're doing ourselves a great disservice. So like to your comment with the gated communities, they may make us feel exclusive and important for living in there, but what is it doing to the socio-dynamic?
Well, exactly. So let me just be very clear so people don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't have anything against gated communities.
Not at all. Yeah.
I just want to know who the gated communities trying to avoid. That's my question. Yeah. Build all the gated communities you want, but while doing so, let us know what it is you're afraid of. Why are you gating yourself? What are you gating yourself away from?
Yeah, and sometimes maybe you in there hiding from something.
Because, hold on, if you live in a small society, as Cayman is, and you're gating yourself away from a certain section of their society, instead of gating yourself out of the problem, you should be trying to find solutions to fix the problem. Why you gating yourself in behind the gates? You might want to fix that problem so you don't have to build a gated community. But nobody wants to address the real issues in this country. They don't.
I think back to, and I won't give the example, but I know of it here and in another place. And a certain person had a particular vehicle and could park that vehicle anywhere. Nobody would trouble that vehicle. Didn't need to lock it. It wasn't that this was a violent person and you were afraid. This was a person that was so involved and invested in the community that the love and respect that person showed, the person received. So whether it was an expensive car or whether it was just a little, beat up jalopy, that car was safe no matter where it was.
Right.
And we know that existed in our community, that some people could go anywhere and they were who they were because of...
My keys in my truck right now in Radio Cayman parking lot. Yeah. Right this minute. Doors open, keys in it. And it's not because I'm being complacent. It's because that is the sort of society I grew up in, where you can leave your door open and your window open, and I'm not leaving my keys in my car to prove a point.
Yeah,
I leaving the keys in the car because many times I've lost the keys when I'm taking them out. So if I leave them in the car, I know
where it is,
where they are.
Yeah,
so,
but as you say that, and is the training that kicks in sometimes. We appreciate it in our society and the change that has taken place now is for the best. And there are those of us who are malicious. So it's not so much what somebody would take, but what somebody would place in your space that could put you in peril, right? And unfortunately, it's a growing concern.
I agree, and this is why every time I go through the logistical and economics website, the ESO,
Mhm.
right? And I look at all of the appropriations and I go through it. And don't get me wrong, I may sound like a very bored person why I find all this time to do
No,
this.
man, just intellectual.
But when I do this, Sterling, and I look at the appropriated funds for certain things, they're very well warranted. However, if we took the same emphasis and the same sort of lens and looked through and said, okay, as opposed to aiding all of these things, maybe we can start investing some of this money into the solution so that we can prevent having to appropriate funds for these things every single year. Government subsidize a tremendous amount of things, right? In order for Cayman to have some sort of civil society where it's not it's not as bad as it is. Cost of living is a pressing issue that causes a lot of social distress. We have a couple of things that could be implemented very simply and easily. However, when we look at the system and the guardians of the system, those are the obstacles that we need to get over, because the very people who guard the system is responsible for the breakdown in the system, and they like it that way simply because it works for them. That model works for them, but not for all. You've heard me say this probably more times than anybody else. If you fix it for the man on the bottom, then you've essentially fixed it for everyone.
You do it for one, do it for all.
The emphasis that you put and the resources that you put into keeping the people on the top where they are, if you were to do the same thing for the man on the bottom, we would be all right.
Let's see if we can take this call before the news.
Sure.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to Mr. Rankin.
Afternoon.
Afternoon, John. How are you, Mom?
Good. Sterling and Mario, I see the real estate commercial saying, welcome to a good life here at the Cayman Islands, trying to sell the homes that they got built and or was already used or not been used yet, but they're welcoming people to the good life in the Cayman Islands. And like you say, why they got to get a community? Who are they afraid of? What are they running from? If Cayman is so unsafe, then why are you here? You're running from your country because your country 95% of the time is unsafe. You come into a country where you hear that it's so safe and you can leave windows and doors and so forth open. Right now, I'm going to work and my house is open. I have all of my windows practically open. And my house is in Newlands and I'm working in town. So I left my windows open. With the good grace of God that they'll be protected till I get back home.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I want to say one more thing before we go to the news. Mario or Sterling, can you tell me many years ago when there was an accident on the road, did the officers clean up? They always had a broom in their trunk of their car, and apparently they would pick up, they would find debris of glasses and so forth and disregard it. Do you know if that happened some years ago? Or I dreaming that? Did that happen?
I've seen that happen in the past. I've even seen that happen even recently. So I think it's just a matter of the group at that particular point, if they have those things in the car at the time. I mean, I don't think it's some sort of policy or requirement, but I certainly have seen many police over the years take the initiative and help clean the debris off the road. I've seen that multiple times.
Exactly. So why I say that is because I'm noticing accidents here and there, and the debris is still on the side of the road, and no one is picking it up. And it was left for the community to go and clean it up. And I think that is very so wrong, because whoever the car was belongs to, they got in an accident, it should be their responsibility to get it all picked up, the pieces and the glass and et cetera. But anyhow, I thought I was dreaming that, or I was just watching so much U.S. news.
No.
But anyhow, you all have a great one.
You too.
All right. Thanks very much. And as you shared that, I mean, that's where the community's ethos, right, has to be that we're about safety, security, civility, and sanity. And
do things for ourselves and stop relying on institutions or government or people to do it. You see something that is clearly derelict or in the way or creating some hindrance. Take the initiative. Instead of posting on Facebook that is there, just go and clean it up.
Act, perhaps, and talk less. But as we're looking at that, I'm thinking just use the roadways. Increasingly, the Honorable Minister for Tourism may have been applauded by some, or may have been, castigated by others when he said, listen, there's a lot of nastiness in our streets. We can't have the derelict vehicles on the roads. And they're like, as the caller was sharing, I was just looking at a message from someone who said, on our road base, not only is increasing litter, but we're seeing cars just parked there, sometimes at corners, roundabouts.
Wow.
And vehicles do break down, but is it that the probability that they're going to break down at those spots so frequent? All right, when we come back from the break after our news, I want to ask about some other things and maybe get your insight, and you share with us as you want. The phone lines remain open, so give us a shout and share your thoughts.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Lions Club in the Cayman Islands will be hosting the 42nd Multiple District 60 Convention, May 26th to 29th of this year. It's the first in-person Multiple District 60 Convention since 2019. Activities begin today, May 26th, with a welcome reception at the residence of His Excellency, the Governor, Martin Roper. In international news, the head of the World Bank has warned that Russia's invasion of Ukraine could cause a global recession as the price of food, energy, and fertilizer jump. David Malpass told a U.S. business event on Wednesday that it is difficult to see how we would avoid a recession. He also said that a series of coronavirus lockdowns in China is adding to concerns about a slowdown. His comments are the latest warning over the rising risk that the world's economy may be set to contract. Actor Kevin Spacey has been charged with sexual assault against 3 men, the Crown Prosecution Service has confirmed. 5 charges were brought against the 62-year-old after the Met Police reviewed evidence following complaints dating between 2005 and 2013. 3 complaints relate to sexual abuse, which is alleged to have taken place in London, and 1 in Gloucestershire. He is also charged with an additional serious sexual offence in London. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
We wanna go and dally.
Backyard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine. 7 Mile Beach might have changed, but Backyard is bringing it back. True Caribbean food in the heart of 7 Mile, just like Mama's home cooking. Brown stew snapper, Cayman-style beef, jerk chicken, turtle stew, and the delicious list goes on. Dine in, take out, or order with the Bento app. Backyard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine, 269 West Bay Road, or call 746-4603. Backyard, daily lunch specials, and the one-of-a-kind Fun Day Sunday live music brunch.
Backyard.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
The DG's 5K takes off this Sunday, May 29, 6:30 a.m. at the Government Administration Building. But if you're not quite the morning person, you can still support the DG's 5K within your community and help raise funds for the Cayman Islands Cancer Society, the Alzheimer's and Dementia Association of the Cayman Islands, and the MS Foundation. Purchase your DG's 5K 2022 shirt today and tomorrow, 26-27 of May, at the Government Administration Building, and walk or run anytime this weekend. Don't forget to share your photos on social media using hashtag DG's 5K Challenge.
If you care about your car's performance and fuel economy, you must fill up at Jose's Escape with the new Pier 93. Experts know that the higher the octane rating, the better your engine will perform. Pier 93 is the highest octane fuel available in Cayman. Protect your car against pre-ignition and engine knocks. Top up your tank now with Pier 93 at Jose's Rubis and enter to win an awesome track bike. But there's more. Jose's offers 2 lateral flow test kits for only $10. The best KN95 masks, 2 for $5. And 10 stylish black surgical masks are only $5. Share the love. Purchase Reflections gift certificates and enter to win the amazing Trek bike.
Find out about all the community happenings from nonprofit, community fundraisers, church events, and more with Radio Cayman's Community Bulletin Board 3 times daily. Don't be the one to miss out on the latest information for events taking place every day on all 3 islands. Radio Cayman's Bulletin Board, brought to you by UCCI. Visit www.ucci.edu.ky. Choose your dream and blaze your trail today.
And by GNC, conveniently located in Queens Court, 7 Mile Beach, and Country Corner. GNC, more than sports, all fitness, mind, and body.
Subway is serving up a special new sauce, bursting with flavor in every bite. The new Savory Collection is a tropical sweet and spicy sauce made with a combination of spices, habanero peppers, thyme, onion, black pepper, ginger, citrus juices, and molasses.
So good. Wow. Sensational. Delicious.
Subway's Savory Collection pairs perfectly with our oven roasted chicken or steak sub. Savor the flavor. For a limited time, only at Subway. Subway. Eat fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks to our guest, Mr. Mario D. Rankin, for sharing with us. And always appreciated some of the things that you would, from time to time, share so we can read. But your public utterances give us, food for thought. All right. You were traveling recently. You will come back.
Well, yeah, I was going to share that right before the break. And it was to be on the tail end of what we were talking about, about the situation where if we be our brothers and sisters keeper more, and if we take the initiative to do certain things in our community without having to rely on government for every little thing, we would have a better working environment, right? I was on the airport coming home on Monday, and there's a little tram for all of those people who are familiar with the Miami airport. You got to take a little tram from the Rent-A-Car Center back to the airport, and so on and so forth. So anyway, I was coming through the airport and coming through the Rent-A-Car, dropped off the Rent-A-Car, and I was walking, and there was a guy. There was a lot of people waiting to get on the tram, and there was this one guy standing up with a bag over his head, and he was speaking loud enough, not obnoxiously or creating some scene. He just spoke loud enough for everyone in that hall to hear. He was asking for money to buy food. He said, "Is there anybody who have any spare change so I can buy some food?" And obviously, I didn't have any cash at all on me, right? Because if I did have cash, I would always give without even a second moment's thought. And so I got on the tram, Sterling, and I told him I didn't have any cash. I would be more than welcome. But long story short, I got on the tram. It closed the door. It went all the way over to the airport, and it gave me time to think about that. And I said, you could really help that person. So I got back on the tram, went back across the Rent-A-Car, went to the ATM, got money and gave it to him, and got back on and went back. So for me, it was a peace of mind where here's a human being, regardless of where they're from, who they are. Here's somebody who obviously needed help. I don't think he would have been in the airport at the Rent-A-Car Center asking people for food if he wasn't genuinely hungry. I looked at the gentleman, and the gentleman didn't look like somebody who was an alcoholic or somebody stronger than drugs. He just looked like somebody who was experiencing a rough time. Now, I only say that to say that when we have people in the Cayman Islands that living in the car with their children because of whatever reason, I'm not one to judge people, and we don't do enough to try to eliminate that or to limit that from taking place. That's why I don't subscribe to charities. People say, "Oh, well, you don't support charities." I said, "Well, I support cancer research charities because that's an ongoing battle that I don't think anyone can fix." I said, "But people starving, we can fix. It's a matter of choice. We can't find a cure for cancer. We can spend as much money as we need to for research to try to find a cure, and I support that always. But I don't support people having charities to feed people in the Cayman Islands, because you have an island with already a very small population, even smaller population for locals. And we have different industries in this island that provides a exceptionally good life for many people here. And I have no problem with those people who live good lives and have the financial security and capability to buy whatever they want. I do not. I'm talking about the system. The system has failed anyone who needs to beg for food in this country. And I don't care what they've done in their life. Our system has grossly failed anyone who have to ask for money to buy food in this island. And I'm sorry, I don't accept the excuses. Oh, well, we can't do this and we can't do that, or we did that and that didn't work. Listen, the system of reality is that we're failing.
Yeah.
Socially, we're failing miserably.
As you say that, I'm reminded of what I believe has been described to Nelson Mandela. Say, we're not fighting against people, we're fighting against a system. So
you know what Bob Marley said? For all of those people who don't think Bob Marley was a prophet, let me tell you something. Bob Marley said the poorest people in the world are those who only have money. Because they never got nothing else but money.
Yeah. Yeah, money can't buy a class, Mama say.
Well,
Bo, we got a couple of calls. Want to take
sure.
some? Hey, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, KB, good afternoon, man. How you doing?
Okay.
Good to hear from you as well, man.
Yeah, and good afternoon to Mario.
Afternoon, sir.
Okay, Mario, I needed to speak to you personally.
Yeah, man.
I was wondering if it would be okay if I left my phone number with the lady there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. We'll pass it on, man. But thanks, man. Anything else, or that's it?
No, that's okay.
Okay, appreciate it, man. Yeah, this is why Love Radio came on, you know, the honesty, sincerity, and access. Yes. So he left the number. All right, we've got another caller.
Okay.
Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. This is twice now I said good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm not too bad, you know. I'm grateful for another day. Mr. Mario, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Yes, that is good. Now, the lady that is always speaking about the environment, no, she's like Mr. Mickey. She do not let her go of that. And I'm thankful for people like Jan Thompson that is always talking about the environment. It's different things she do talk about, but the environment is so important. The sad thing about the whole thing here in Cayman, we got all of these, well, I didn't hardly see them anymore, these notices about $500 fine and all of that. No. Do what other countries do. No, not taken to no court. You give them a ticket and a time to pay, and if they don't pay, then many countries take away something from them that is valuable until they pay. It sounds wicked, but until we get our act together, we're going to hear about this over and over. Diseases, children getting very sick, and that is not necessary in this little Tumbatu island. Thank you, Miss Jan. Thank you so much. Now, on the same subject, there's a street in West Bay. Not going to call any names, but until MP Catherine Ebanks Wilkes got her office there, that street started to get cleaned up. Now, that street had been like that for years in and years out, politicians in, politicians out. Oh, no. We decide we'll keep the same ones for years and years and years. That's why things were not getting done. And it was a lot of cars, old trucks, and engines and you name it on this street in the front of people's homes. And nothing was getting done. But it looks like she is on the move and things are being cleaned up. And I want to thank her from the bottom of my heart for doing so. And keep at these things because I say, like I said before, that's the reason why diseases spread and doctors can't find names for these things. So they come up with all kinds of things that to me, you can't even spell them. And if you can spell them, you can't pronounce it. So anyway, on another subject, if I may, I've been on this for years too. A multi-purpose hall in West Bay is a must. A must because we are getting to be such a huge district, and every year a huge population. The district don't seem to be getting any bigger. It's just the population. Every year we have 6 months or just about that we have to prepare for because of bad weather, hurricanes, storms, and things like that. And we have only the West Bay Primary School Hall and a few church halls that can only hold a few people. And so far, no politician has done anything about it. And the West Bay Primary School Hall only holds 350 people approximately. And I was there during, not that I needed to go there, but I was with Red Cross. And that's where they stationed me during 2004. And make I tell you, we jammed over 400 people up in there because they had nowhere to go. We need it. We needed politicians. We're sick of hearing what we're going to do every 4 years. And nothing happened. And a big smile that it had looked like was glued on with crazy glue from the weeks before they came out. No meetings. Only Miss Kathy has had 2 meetings. I think Mr. Andre has had 1. No meetings from the rest. What is happening? Do they realize that we are their employers? Do they realize that? But people keep voting back the same people and expect a big, huge difference. But one of these days we can get a surprise. One of these days. No.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't care who likes it from who don't, because I try to speak the truth. I try to speak my conscience, and I am not going to get ulcers from it because it needs to be said. And do I have 1 more minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Another thing, Meals on Wheels. I help with them, collecting and stuff like that. But one time I was helping a cousin of mine deliver some stuff. And I was shocked who was getting Meals on Wheels with huge families. And some of those families work for government. Now I'm wondering, what happens to those? I say, this is another thing that I know it's a broken record, but I got to get it across again. What happens to those poor people? And it's mostly elderly people, and some of them even have Alzheimer's, and some of them are bedridden. What happens? On the weekends when it's no delivery, I haven't got an answer from anybody yet. Like on Saturdays and Sundays.
And public holidays.
And then public holidays.
Yes,
what happens to those poor people? You know, and when I go to their home, I've been to their homes and carrying them different things, not bragging about myself, but my mother taught me to be kind to everyone. And you get paid right back by the blessings of God. And I see these people, and they're so glad to see someone, to talk to someone.
Yes, ma'am.
These are people that had been very good to the community, has even helped raise children, and they're forgotten about. Why aren't the churches dipping in and see about these people and say which families that is not doing right by their own people? How can they sleep in an air condition, but their family member is in one little room, a 2x2 room that they with a fan on them, no TV, no radio, no nothing like that, and a caregiver. And some of those caregivers has to work in bad conditions. Now, I ain't going to keep you no longer. I ain't going to ask for any more minutes. Good afternoon to both of you, and good afternoon to Miss Susan.
And to you, Mom. Thank you for sharing. But you make a valid point, and maybe this is where, Mario, to your point, maybe the society need to look at the system and figure out why we need some of these in the first place, huh?
Well, I agree. Obviously, I think anyone who signed up for Meals on Wheels should get the meals, regardless of what size their family is. I don't think anyone should be looked at any different from the other. The point that she made about holidays and weekends, that's a very good point, and I think that we need to figure out that these people are not starving over these days, that no one is delivering food on Meals on Wheels, obviously. It's an issue that I guess they need to look into. I don't know if they haven't already. The other thing that I want to hit, because I know the time is very limited, is I just want to say this. Listen, and it goes back to what she said about the community hall and the facilities and whatnot. You see, the problem is that we've been groomed to look at politicians for everything. And quite frankly, yes, I know building a community hall may be expensive and may cost a lot of money, but a lot of the emphasis that we put on worrying about why government didn't do it, we could probably form an organization, start getting money, raising money to go towards these things. You know, I remember when I first moved into the Savannah district, many moons ago in the 90s, in the mid-90s, there was Savnu Kodak Community Group. We didn't rely on government to do a lot of things. Government came in after the fact and supported it. And it was a great public initiative, and we've moved away from that. We need to start becoming more responsible in our individual districts. We need to start implementing things that could not only encourage government to get on board, but can also get things done where you encourage the younger generation to get on board. If we want a lot of these things, we need to take the initiative to start implementing these things. And yes, the government has a responsibility to create a sustainable environment for all its people, but the government also has a responsibility to make sure that revenue is being generated. We don't have any resources being shipped out. There are so many different things that we need to start looking at, and if we continue to create environments only for a certain group of people to survive and be financially secure, then we're going to always have these social issues. Meals on Wheels is one of the things that I admire, only because someone took initiative privately to institute it. And the fact that we every year, I mean, I've seen where the last car show raised $13,000 for Meals on Wheels in a couple of hours, which is very, well needed, and it was an awesome initiative. Congratulations to all of the organizers at that car show. I happened to have been off island at the time. My son took one of the cars there. So, I look at that and I say, okay, here's something that could have been this could have easily been an appropriation within the government annual budget. But I was pleased to see that the community took the initiative to drive it, to make sure that we generated the revenue. We don't have some glamorous Meals on Wheels gala every year where people who carry home millions of dollars can get up and beat their chest and say, oh, well, we have Meals on Wheels. The thing is that we need to start focusing on the fundamental issues that are affecting our social ability, our financial ability, and we need to implement solutions. We got to stop looking forward to the annual handout. Mm-hmm. We got to stop that. Because it's only going to get worse and worse as the population grows. And it's sending a poor message to the future generation to say, oh, well, okay, we're going to just get more money for this charity. No, we need to eliminate that charity. We need that charity to be the last thing on the list that we turn to before we do anything. And that's the type of thing that I want to work hard as a person in Cayman who have always spoke out publicly and candidly. And I've taken my licks, I've taken my victimization, and you never heard me complain one single time. I've been on air in here multiple times. I got my own show. I've been on multiple media houses, and not one time have I ever complained about what happened to me because of my willingness to speak out publicly. Because I didn't take my eye off the prize. I didn't take my eye off of the thing that we would need to accomplish. That's to create education and awareness. Mm-hmm. We got young people in our island who are going to be subjected to a poorly ran system. And all we keep doing is kicking the can down the road. Politicians get in and all they do is say, okay, let me find the 4-year political mileage system for me, and they kick the can down the road. That's why I got a lot of respect for people like, as she mentioned, Catherine, who saw an area in her that she grew up in, and she's doing something about it. I give great respect to somebody like Jay Ebanks. I can tell you, I've been going to Rum Point area since I was a kid. Mm. And that road has never been fixed. It's fixed now. It's fixed now. And we see Ezra Miller complaining about it. He been in politics from the 80s, never fixed the road. And it's not to take any political shots. I'm just simply saying. I see a lot of things that Jay doing now that other politicians could have done a long time ago. But because it didn't have political expediency, you see, they didn't do it. And for me, it's, listen, just get the job done. Whatever gonna happen after that, let it happen. But just get it done. We need to reinvest in our people, not by just sending them off to get an education, because we got to fix the system. We sending all our children off to get tertiary education, to come back fully equipped and aware and tooled up, to come back to an industry that's gating them out. We got to fix the system first. Because all we're going to do is create a leader society where we have a bunch of smart people who can't be implemented or participating in the arenas that we want them to be in. Go to Jamaica. Just look at Jamaica. My cousin in Jamaica on my father's side has a CPA and he sells insurance because he can't get a job nowhere else. And that's because their system is broken and Cayman is somehow following suit. And we're going to have a bunch of smart Caymanians and nowhere for them to work because we didn't fix the system. We don't have a succession planning system in place for people who've gone off and get tertiary education. And last but not least, we think that the only people that can make a positive contribution by participation in our society are people who have education. Great mistake. The problem is that we have overlooked the people who work in the trenches, who are the ones that keeping this thing up and balancing this whole show for everybody. We've overlooked them. We haven't recognized that they also have something that is just as important to offer. And we've made a mockery by creating a system in the school called special aid. If you have a category of people in a high school system that getting ready to go into the public that requires special aid, you know what special aid mean? Meaning that they need some special attention. So you think special attention mean putting them in a room to play dominoes and cards till the bell ring? Because that's what the system is now. So if we have identified that they need extra help, then why are they not getting the extra help? Why are we not honing their talents and working towards their strengths? Because they have something to contribute. Because if nobody picked up your garbage, Cayman would be a big stink, wouldn't it? But you know what? We got to take our hat off to the garbage men and women who work in that system, who keeps the island clean. Okay? And these are some of the social issues that we are afraid to face and we are afraid to talk about. And we're afraid to talk about publicly because there's no political mileage attached to it. Okay? And that's where we need to come out from under that shadow. Because if we don't do that, Sterling, we're going to lose more generations coming, and there'll be less participation in the arenas that will make a difference. So we got to have people stop thinking only. We need people to think and then also do.
Together.
Yeah.
That's why I always appreciate you coming, because you spark a thought and you make us think and hopefully inspire us to act positively and productively. Mario, always a pleasure, man. Maybe you'll come back on and we can talk about how we need to celebrate, recognize our own locally as we should, internationally, and not let them have to leave our shores to get the needed recognition that they deserve.
Yeah, I really wanted to touch on the 345 racing thing that I just did, and it's a great platform that has put Cayman on a international level. I had multiple conversations with multiple media houses and interviews and magazines, and the only thing they can ask is, what encouraged you from the Cayman Islands to be a part of this? And it's very interesting, but that's for another time.
Another time.
Yeah, and I'll
always
thank you guys for
much.
allowing me to come on here and have an open dialogue conversation.
Well,
anyway.
the invitation is there, man. You have much to contribute. Thanks very much, right? And to all on Sunday, we invite you to be a part of our continuing programming here at Radio Cayman. Susan, I wouldn't say my age, but back in the day, we say she's spinning the shots. You know what I mean? So that's probably no more a turntable, but that's how it was. And not a reel to reel, but the music is still good. It's soothing and satisfying, because it's Susan in the evening as well as she's in the morning. So at 3 o'clock on the 3 to 6 today, you want to tune on, right? To stay on the line and get all of the great music and entertainment that we provide for you. Information hour 6 to 7. And then JJ Dice One gives you an hour of some really, really good local programming that you'll get. Hey, it's all in a good day. I invite you to join Mr. Art in the morning for the record. Come back for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. We're going to focus on early childhood education tomorrow as part of our programming and tell you about the upcoming DG Challenge as well. Until then, my friends, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman.